All right, this is one of our favorite ones. We're going to talk about the product roadmap. So if you are new to Lifecycle Insights, you can always see the existing product roadmap by going into help and typing the word roadmap. So that's easy, but I'm going to walk through some of it. So we do publish it. This one's not live yet. We like to share it with you first, and then we will make it live in the platform in our help supporting documentation next week. So I'm going to talk through just a real quick review of Q4 in 2022, 2023. What have we already sent right out of the gate? What's next up? Q1 and then Q2 and beyond. For sure, next up means it's already being built. We're QA testing it now. That'll be out the door Q1. Those are all things we've absolutely committed to. Development typically has started on them, and some of them may bleed a little into Q2, but those are on the we're going to do these lists. Q2 and beyond, right? It gets a little fuzzier from there, so we don't know exact timing, and that's what we keep collecting feedback on. So if you don't like what's up next, that would be a problem because that's already in flight, but we typically iterate quick enough that something you love will be on the way shortly thereafter. First, a quick review of Q4 in 2022. I guess I could put in slideshow mode. Brought to you by Hawaiian Shirt Thursday. So at some point in last year, we decided our Thursday meetings would be in Hawaiian shirts. So if you haven't met all of us at IT Nation, these are the 4 co-founders. You definitely recognize 2 of us, and then the other 2 that don't join as many calls. This is, these are part of the conversations that help us prioritize along with all the conversations we have with you. So you can see on the right-hand side, the big things that we released at the end of Q4: budget enhancements, fiscal year support, generate budget as of a date, not data, Kanban board view, that's deployed as well. So dashboard tiles last quarter got both the ability to customize them, which you see at the bottom, and set them by security group. And then we also created a lot of new dashboard tiles: Microsoft Secure Score, CSAT, recommendation, summary score, assessment, event history, Microsoft licensing. And then you'll see that bottom bullet on headlines, which we're actively working on right now. So we will talk about that. On this call a few weeks ago, we also had another suggestion for a dashboard tile around Report Locker. So Greg, if you're on the call, that was you. And that one is on the list. Our roadmap doesn't include an exhaustive list of all of the things that we'll get in. But just so you know, we heard that one a couple of weeks ago and have that on the list as well. So that's where we were already in 2023 out of the gate. We released our Hoodoo integration. We already have several Hoodooers, or Hoodoo users, as they actually say, in the platform. So we're glad to see that integration is moving forward, and we're adding all of the other gaps from Hoodoo into the platform. So as more folks get in, we're collecting more data through there. Report Builder V2 and Report Locker are out in the wild, and as Steve said, they're constantly updating and making sure all things are running smoothly there. Next up, well, here are the headlines. Let me stop sharing the slide deck for a second, because you'll notice on the right-hand side, we have headlines. So what are headlines? If folks that were on this call, maybe in November, we had a conversation around notifications and alerts that you would be interested in getting in the platform. So when I log in, I want to know if any of my contracts have expired without having to go look at the contracts page to see what has expired, etc. So we are calling out headlines right out of the gate. So you'll see we've got 4 started. So we have a lot more in mind of what we would want to put on this sideboard in a client, but we're going to start with these. So you can see I've got 2 contracts that are about to expire, 2 that have expired. Folks asked for, hey, how do I know, that my business review is overdue, or when my last one was, et cetera, when my next one's going to be. You can see we've got your latest assessment was, however many days ago. And here are some expired assets that are not linked to a recommendation if you want to build a recommendation to them. for any of these pieces and parts, if you click into the blue link that's there, it will actually pull up whatever it is referring to. So you don't have to go hunt around. If you want to know what those 39 expired assets are, you can grab them right there and it's going to pull it up for you. If you, hold on, I'm letting people in. If you're curious of what this contract is that has expired, again, it'll pull it up right there for some ease of use. Next thing up will be, we're going to look at finding ways to allow you to say, I really care about this headline. I don't care about this headline. So you could customize that right out of the gate. It will be, that you get the pre-canned headlines. Again, this would be for tenant admin only. So it would be for internal users only that have the setting for this. So clients would not ever see the headlines, at least out of the gate, until we determine how to let you decide if they would see headlines, etc. So comments, questions, complaints, or criticisms about headlines, shout outs for the developers, we'll take that too. Would love if you're thinking, ooh, the next thing I'd like to see on a headline is X, Y, or Z. Feel free to put it in the chat. We're also looking at doing a broader board of headlines across all clients, just so folks know that. Good job, headlines. I like it. I'm going to use that as a direct quote when I talk to them later. Brian, feel free to put application management X number of, oh, gotcha. Okay.
So we use Sasslio, right? And
yeah, I was going to say, you must be talking about a
yeah.
Sasslio or an Augment. Yeah.
So we initially, determine, okay, here's all the apps we manage, all the apps the client manages, but what happens when a new app pops up that hasn't been classified yet, right? And we need to be, it's kind of an ongoing thing that our account manager is going to be working on with our clients as we discover new apps, making sure the client is aware of it, understanding, are we going to allow it? Are we not going to allow it? Who's going to manage it, right? It's that whole aspect.
And does Sasslio currently grab that for you where we could pull that data?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah? Okay. No, that's good. All right. Let me go back to the roadmap slide deck. And so Q1 planned integrations. So we have more Hoodoo coming. Ninja RMM. So we have a sandbox there. We want to start getting some Ninja data. We have reached out to Crewwho, and Finn is ready for us as well. So, Wes, that's good to know that Augment has it too. I'll take a note on that would be something that we could do across both of those. Thank you. Also in Q1, a little smaller because there's a little more detail. So let me talk about a few of these pieces. First, we have the EU instance. So for the folks who are required for EU data purposes to have a data center in Europe, we are QA testing the multi-region support for a new instance, AWS instance. This one, particularly in Frankfurt. The reason those that are not in EU care is the ability to do this. One, gives us a lot more capacity, so it'll help with any lagginess. The other piece is we'll be able to spin up additional servers quickly. So should AWS East go down, we can easily spin up another instance someplace. I can't remember if we had any outages last year, maybe 15 minutes when AWS went down, or last year might have been the year we had an hour, but we'd like to avoid that at all costs. So that'll be good for everybody. If you're a 7-figure partner, we did the report builder pieces that I talked about on the Elite call. Headlines alerting, I just showed you a sneak peek of that, and more of that to come. Opportunities. So we get asked all the time, probably our most popular request, can we create an opportunity in our PSA? So again, we'll start with ConnectWise, then move to AutoTask, and then add the other PSAs. Let me go back to the European data center piece for a minute. Yes, you will be able to leave the US data centers. So if you would like to switch, you can request to move. So if somebody's been waiting for that, we won't move anybody, but we can you can request it, and then we have a process in place to lift and shift you to a new one. If that's what you meant, Andrew, I think I got you covered. I don't know that we can, Rick, but I'd be more than happy to, if you send a copy of what those look like, we would be happy to take a look at that for sure. Back for opportunities. So first up, in the same way that you can create a ticket in the platform, you will be able to create an opportunity specifically from recommendations. Part two of that will be the ability to link to an existing opportunity. So we know many of our partners already have tons of opportunities that are associated to a recommendation that they have in Lifecycle, but they don't have that connection. So in the same way that you can go in and associate an existing recommendation places in the platform, you'll be able to link those. Brian, you have a question?
Yeah, when you say part two, does that mean it's going to happen at a later time or at the same time?
We think it will be easy enough to do it at the same time. If it is a heavy lift to do the linking, then they would do ConnectWise and auto task everybody create opportunities, but they're planning on having it both done in Q1, regardless of which way.
Okay, because you'll probably get more adoption from the link existing,
Right,
especially for a lot of
already
people
have
that use. Yeah, if you use a quoting platform, it's going to create the opportunity for you. And then you would link Lifecycle to the opportunity. I guess you could do it the opposite way, where you have Lifecycle create the opportunity and then you link the quote to the existing opportunity, but you don't really know what the opportunity is going to be until you quote it out, right? Like what's the total amount?
It depends on where you are in the life cycle of it, right?
Yeah,
If you're really with a prospect where you're creating a recommendation, Lifecycle could be ahead of the whole opportunity. So we want to offer both. And we're well aware. They said it, they were hoping at the same time, but again, until they dig into it, and believe me, I'm definitely not the one to be able to say like, oh, that'll be easy for you. But I think they will come out at the same time, again, both in Q1. We talked maybe a month ago, it was right after IT Nation. We had the Acellus team come on and share with us their thoughts on tracking momentum. So I'm actually doing a webinar on February 9th with Everything MSP, talking about how to look at the momentum and how can you see if your business has momentum. And so we're going to start with tracking some of the data around momentum. So things like linking recommendations to QBRs. So you could almost rate a QBR. You know, I presented 5 recommendations in this QBR and I closed 0 of them versus I closed 4 of them at this recommendation in this business. So at this company, you could see who we've had heard the statement multiple times. Who are my clients that are paying their MRR services bill, but they haven't paid for a project from us in a year? That would be a stale client, right? There might be some risk with that client, as opposed to a client that every time you come with 3 priority projects, they accept all of those recommendations and are working with you, right? They're getting healthier. They're further aligned to your stack and services. So that's definitely the place we're going to start. Alex, I'm glad you like that. The other piece along that line is tagging recommendations. And other folks have asked about this functionality for different reasons. So I want to tag recommendations because it's like a core piece of my services versus maybe an ancillary recommendation that you don't care about as much, right? So we suggested some web development for them as a possible project, but we really, really, really want them on our firewall, that type of thing. So you would be able to tag them like in assessments with anything that you wanted. It could be priorities, that type of thing, but the ability to tag recommendations, you would then be able to filter your reporting by those tags. So I want to see how I'm doing on my close rate on core recommendations versus ancillary, right? Maybe you've got an account manager who crushes it on selling all the ancillary services, and maybe you can maximize that within your company. So that's the notion behind the momentum. There will be a lot more on that, but that's a start. We've got a couple facelift projects around the UI and the workflow. Budget facelift, we've got folks who are asking for things around charts and making the tables a little prettier, et cetera. So we really want to work on some better budget reporting options this quarter, and scheduler facelift too, along with some filtering pieces. We have a lot more folks that are using all of the scheduling components. And now that you can easily send reports through Report Locker to a QBR, and we're going to start tagging recommendations to a QBR, we need to give a V2 of that as well. What you got, Brian?
What I would love to see as an upgrade in the budgeting system is to more closely relate it to a traditional accounting system like QuickBooks and how they do their budgets, where we can actually categorize different expenses so that they can line up more with a P&L that they're used to looking at in their own QuickBooks, right? Ultimately, does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm thinking that the notion of being able to, like the tagging of recommendations, right? If you could tag this by sales and marketing, or tag this to internal IT versus R&D or whatever, those tags might be able to do that. So maybe if we can add that, we've been asked if we could categorize the budget. So I think that might be a bit in that, et cetera, but I like that case of being able to align to the P&L, because how we could manage those tags might be a little different. So that makes sense. Yeah, Scott, CapEx versus OpEx. People have definitely asked that before. And Pearlie, I have not missed your note. I saw it. We do not have the Kaseya compliance manager on the list. Of Kaseya, we have Bullfish on the list first, but we have some other, we have a whole long list of possible integrations. One of the things is we're going to hire 2 folks in February, and then we have a plan for quite a few more this year, which getting folks on the development team that can build integrations faster. We're happy to take ideas for other integrations. I am analog, so yep, I take all of these notes old school, but I promise you they do typically land in the right place at the end of the week, usually at the end of the weekend, but they get there. Scheduler facelift, I mentioned that, and then onboarding automation. So we have in development a Kanban style onboarding board as well, but it's going to be a little more data driven. So you wouldn't have to see all of the things. For example, if you hadn't integrated Microsoft 365, we would pop up a to-do card to integrate with Microsoft 365. But if you had already done that, we would just move it to the done for you. So it would show you kind of next steps along the way. Goran Huntress is on our board. It's not in Q1, and it's not top of Q2, but we have already started talking with the Huntress team about what they might like to see in the platform. The other piece is Huntress acquired Curricula, which is a cybersecurity phishing training platform. And so there are 2 versions of, there's Huntress for the native Huntress application and what reporting you might want in there, as well as their Curricula platform. One thing I did want to point out that I doubt I stated clearly in the release video for Report Locker is when you're in Report Builder and you save your report to Report Locker, there's an import button there that you can import any report from. You can't add it as a component where it will print out in your lifecycle report, but you absolutely can add it into Report Locker so your Huntress report could live with your Report Builder report. And I'll just show you what that looks like. So if I'm in Report Builder, and I'm on that, because I'm on the headline site, this one could very easily be a little slower because I'm pushing up against a dev instance instead of production. So if I go to Report Locker and I can see all of my business review saved reports, when I hit import, I could import from anything, a PDF or a Word file. So we have limitation in the component of only a Word doc, but here you can upload a PDF. So that means that this list now could house 2 other PDFs, all in the same place. So I open my report, my template, then I open Huntress. It's one step closer to really being, it feels less cumbersome than logging out of one platform, logging into another. So if you hadn't considered that use case until we get all the integrations built, I think that's a big win, which that wasn't like the biggest use case we were thinking of when we built it, but I think it is a big help along the way. John, it would be nice to have a way in recommendations to rate the impact to the organization. We currently have priority, but low priority, high impact things are more important to track for me than low. So I think with tagging, so the notion of momentum is two things. It's not just the ability to tag by it, but to also be able to manage to it. And so rating QBRs and the success of them is kind of a piece of that. So I feel like that aligns with our thinking on that, John, although I'll make that note in case there's some nuances in a use case that would help the team. Dave, not just PDF, Word doc also. Great workaround. Oh, okay. So there's a workaround for any PDF to Word, print to OneNote, desk, copy it all, paste it into Word. Okay, I got it. Wait, let me read that again so people listening to the recording don't think I'm having a stroke on screen. Great workaround for any PDF to Word, print to OneNote, desktop, and then copy it all and paste it into Word. I think I said it right that time. Okay, good. And that aligns. Perfect. And then what's beyond that? So we really do commit to our roadmaps, as you have seen, right? If we say we're going to do it, we try to build it. So we don't try to look too far ahead because we don't want to, get everybody's hopes up for something that may push. So these are all things like if we're willing to show you publicly, that means we really do plan on doing them, but we really can't commit to a timeline Q2 and beyond because you just never know. If we get a great idea in a ticket, we might do it over the weekend. As Steve said, like sometimes we push out of a release overnight. So know that this gets a little squishier in terms of timelines, but some of the priorities for us. And I want to go through these so you can start thinking about them because these are the ones for sure where we are collecting use cases, so we build it the right way. So if you are listening to this now or recorded, when I send out my Monday email, if you have feedback on, ooh, I loved what you said about this, and I'd really like to see it do X, Y, or Z, send that over and I'll make sure it gets into the ticket where we're storing the use cases on it. So for momentum, the summarized insights reportings would be across all of your companies. So to be able to manage across all of your companies, I've got X number of QBRs that have happened. This account manager gets all of theirs done in a timely fashion. This account manager seems to always be late on QBRs. The notion of rating QBRs. So these were successful, right? I've got a 94% close rate on recommendations versus I've got a 16% close rate on recommendations, that filtering type of thing. So that's what we're talking about with momentum. Notes. We took step one of this with the report builder. So with report builder, you can now edit the text fields that are live in presentation view. So when you're in a recommendation, if you want to move from proposed to customer accepted, you can do it right inside presentation view. We want to add, and I'll put air quotes on this one, everywhere in the platform, notes, so that you could kind of have a fly out and say, add this note to an agenda, to the business review, instead of having to go find the business review and place it there. Securing assessment events. This is another piece that I don't know that people realize the value of Report Locker. People ask us, I want to be able to send a link to an individual assessment event. I don't want to give my client access to all the assessments, but I'd like them to be able to go take a single assessment, or I'd like to be able to share one assessment with someone. So that's what securing assessment events means. But right now with Report Locker, remember, Report Locker can store an individual report. So if you hit download and save to Report Locker and you give your client access to Report Locker, they would just see that single event instead of all of the list of all of their events. So let's see what that looks like. I'm in assessments, right? And you can see I've got Report Locker. Let's see if I've already loaded one in this demo site. It's always a mystery. I have, perfect. So in Report Locker, if I gave them access, if I had loaded a single assessment and gave my client access to Report Locker, they would see that single event, the download of that. So that, as opposed to seeing the whole list of all the assessments, they just have access to that one. Before I go back to the roadmap, there are a couple more questions in the chat. On the budgeting facelift, is that for reports in LCI or both? It is both for the view on the screen as well as the downloadable reports as the printouts. And then Brian, you have a question about the scheduling improvements. Hit me.
Yeah, so we've thought of a lot of cool little features around this, but I wasn't sure, does this tie into kind of the meetings too, right? Because
Yes.
you don't have something that shows up on the scheduler until you create the meeting.
Right, right.
So what I'd love to see here is, if 7 days before the meeting happens, auto creation of a ticket, right? Shows up in the queue for the person. They've got it there ready to go.
Amen.
I'm gonna put +3 on that one at least.
And then a separate area where we can actually put an agenda in the meeting so that we don't have to put it in the executive summary report, because it seems more appropriate to have the agenda in the actual meeting, right? That gets created, and then not necessarily in the executive report.
So that I clicked over here so I could show you we've got agenda builder
Beautiful.
as a component. And I want to, the other piece, I want to go back to the dashboard. So the headlines, one of the things we're starting to do in this business review section, right? Your last scheduled meeting was, you have so many overdue ones, and your next one is, so that we can create actions off of this information and create a rules engine about that. So I think that what you're saying is,
Yep.
I'd like to say, as soon as a meeting pops up and says you have a meeting in 7 days, it auto creates a ticket or sends a notification to somebody that they better start prepping for it, et cetera.
Yep.
I think
And then-
headline is the first step on that.
And then when it comes to meeting notes, right?
Yeah.
The ability to add meeting notes to an existing ticket, right?
In manage, I mean, you can already click into it and add a note there.
Well, you add a note and then there's like, hey, do you want to create a ticket from this note? And it makes you want to create a new ticket. But I've already got an
Oh, but you can't you
ticket.
go back into the ticket from there? I see what you're saying. If you add a new note, you want to associate it to one of the earlier tickets.
Exactly. I don't want to have to copy paste that note and then go put it into the ticket to make sure it got put into the ticket. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just looking to see.
I didn't see a way to link to existing. Maybe I missed it. Maybe it's there.
No, you can't link to an existing, but if you're already, if you've already created one, I did add +9 for you guys that are putting a lot of numbers in there for that feature request. So if I'm in a ticket and you open the ticket.
Yeah, so this would be a
That
note
would
that's
open
not on a
there,
ticket
too.
yet. This would be one of
So-
those green ones, right?
Oh,
Like-
you want to create I was going to say, because you can update this ticket note.
But we want a new note with a new timestamp, or maybe it's a note from a different person, right? And
Okay.
in here, it's like, hey, I don't want to create a new ticket for
Oh,
this.
okay.
I
All
want
right.
to add this note to an existing ticket that's
Yep,
already there.
Got it. Got it. I'm with you now. Yep.
Yeah. And then, oh yeah, one last thing. It's kind of, it feels like extra busy work with the fact that you can't define the meeting type while you're scheduling. You got to schedule all the meetings out, and then you got to go back afterwards and define the meeting type. So I'd like to be able to define the meeting type as we're scheduling.
Got it. I've had some other requests recently also to be able to set up multiple cadences. So I want to have a quarterly business review cadence and I want a monthly check-in cadence that's
Yep.
different. So to be able to do both of those on the calendar. So I have those notes as well. Goals. So goals we have in customer success, but we want to be able to push those goals to the VCIO side of the house into Report Builder. So momentum, notes, and goals are things that are going to happen in VCIO as well as customer success. So those folks that have the customer success platform and are looking to see more of that integration, the team that did the EU instance, which was a big heavy lift, is going to be able to focus more on getting those integrations built as well. So you're going to see a lot of movement there, which also includes some of the pieces of Agenda Builder. So right now, if you're in customer success, you can toggle a goal on or off as customer facing or not customer facing. If you toggle it on as customer facing, we want to give you the opportunity to create it as an agenda item on the Report Builder without having to go retype it. So if you've said, I like the whole objective of a business review is to deliver business outcomes. So if you've got customer facing business outcomes, you want to be able to ship it there. So that's the notion around that. Infographics. So we know in Report Builder that we want, some pretty standardized visuals that help sell your services. So, we can already import Word files and screenshots, but we're looking for just a little bit more elegant way to make that happen. So that is the notion around infographics. You can see, I just put the next 3 additional integrations to be clear on an Excel spreadsheet. It was this long of lists of integrations, and they were different types. So I listed the types that we already have integrations with, although there are different types of integrations that we're looking at as well. Right. So we already currently integrate with PSA tools, IT documentation tools. We're getting our first RMM. We've got cybersecurity training tools. We've got CSAT tools, we've got SaaS reporting tools. So we have some other categories as well. So feel free to put in the chat if you have ideas on that, and I'll +1 you on the voting board. But if I started just asking randomly for integrations, we quite literally could be here through tomorrow. And like I said, I've already got a huge list. So happy to take +1s. And with that, I will tell you that one of the things that the development team's looking at right now is a voting board, so that you would always have live access to this and upvote there and see what everybody else has put in. So it won't always have to be us talking about it and getting manual votes. We're looking at a public voting board where it's always live, and you can add, I want to go vote for, the 3 things Brian said or whatever after a call. So that'll probably happen somewhere in this time frame too. And then the last piece on this, and it's really the last roadmap discussion topic, is manually group customers in LCI for consolidated reporting. So we've had, interestingly enough, these ebb and flow. So like, I won't hear a question about parent-child reporting for 3 months, and then I'll have 4 demos in a week and people asking about parent-child reporting. And it was just happened to be this week. So a lot of folks are saying we have, 4 schools or 6 hospitals that all report up, and we'd like to aggregate that information. Right now, you can only aggregate that information inside, the MSP reports that are across all. So we're looking at ways so that you don't have to change your structure in your PSA, where you could aggregate companies that maybe report up. We're also seeing so many more acquisitions, as are you, that some of your clients are getting bought by each other, and they then want to get reported together as one. So that's what that particular feature request means. So I am happy to open it up to other thoughts, comments, questions, complaints. But while I'm here, I'm going to put my LinkedIn profile into the chat. So if you don't have you're always welcome to email me, but the reason I'm specifically putting LinkedIn in is that we are going to be hiring some folks. And if you all know any good people, we post our jobs on LinkedIn. And I think you all know the type of people we want, like customer focused, raving fans first people that want to do what's right by MSPs. So if you know of any good folks, send them to my LinkedIn page and connect them with me. back to the questions. All right, which RMM? We're starting with Ninja, Goran. That's the one that we get most often, hands down. But once we get, it's one of those things that once we get Ninja in, it will be easier to get other RMMs in because we've sort of set the background, the design for the plumbing on that. I care about devices from Intune. So Intune is already more integration with Microsoft, and Intune reporting is absolutely already on our list. So interesting, the ability to link more than one client to a single Microsoft tenant. I think that'll go along with that aggregated reporting, but it'll be disaggregating reporting, right? It'll be splitting it apart. A lot of this is VCIO specific. What are you guys focusing on? So on the customer success side of the house, let me go back to some of these pieces, and Wes, I'll talk about what those components are. All of the CSAT pieces will be incorporated into the customer success side of the house as well. In headlines, we're going to be adding some headlines around customer success as well. The opportunities will be able to be linked to goals. So that will happen in the customer success side of the house. Momentum is going to happen a lot on the customer success side of the house. A few pieces there. The notes and the goals will have a lot of kind of movement between the two platforms and tracking toward success of QBRs, tracking management of momentum. That will live on the customer success side of the house. The other piece that we would like to start looking at is how we can automate more of the stack alignment components to get additional reporting there. And then there are many of the pages that we have a pretty view, but we don't have a report itself. And so we want to add reporting to those components as well. So we have quite a few on customer success. And Wes, if you want to hop on a call to talk, specifically about some ideas on that, I'm always happy to do that too, because we have quite a bit of the same team, like I said, that did the EU shift. Is the customer success team. So they're actually quite excited to get to start building some more functionality into customer success too.
I'm a little confused about momentum versus customer success. We haven't started down the customer success module route yet, but it's top of mind for us here now in Q1 sometime. So I think you'll get a subscription from us on that. But are they the same? Are they different? Is one a piece of the other?
So if you are in the VCIO side of the house, you would notice many pieces around momentum, but there are components around managing aggregated reporting for momentum that would happen in the customer success side of the house. So if we're talking about filtering by account manager or show me across verticals where I am most successful, that type of thing will happen on the customer success side of the house. Brian, you're the second person to ask for data quality for customer success. So we are, we've got quite a few ideas around additional customer segmentation opportunities, the customer segmentation report, adding additional filtering, sorting, swatching in there. So for folks that don't have clear views of both, like it's gray, it probably all feels completely gray, but we very much want to grow up, get the maturity of customer success up to where it is in VCIO and still continue to add VCIO. So what I can say is we have two teams that will focus, on that so that both get the love and attention that they need moving forward. But like I said, the one team had to go work on that other piece first because that was critical. Is all of this set up, do it yourself, or is there a package we can get to buy for your team to help us get things set up started? So it is definitely, we don't have a do it for you, but we'll have a do it with you. So we're always happy to hop on a one-on-one call. And I will tell you one of the reasons for that, because we get asked regularly, like people would throw money at us if we would just go in and fix their ConnectWise integration. We get that regularly. So the problem is that some of the data quality components really are problems with the conversation between your RMM and your PSA, for example. And we don't have all of the keys to that kingdom. And frankly, we don't want the keys to that kingdom. We do have very good relationships with some coaches that work with all of the PSAs. So if you said to me, like, I hear what you're saying, Marnie, but I need somebody to automate and manage talking to each other, feel free to ask me that. One of our partners actually is a coach specifically for that. And he's always willing to give an initial consultation conversation to you for free. And sometimes it turns into just like, oh, he solved my problem. And other times he's actually been, gotten a job from it as a consultation to do the work. So we have folks that are happy to do it for you. But we're not those people, mainly because, like I said, I don't want any more keys to any more of your kingdom. We have limited security groups for a reason, to pull the data that we're aiming for. So I hope that makes sense, Angela. All right, I feel like I have read through all of the comments, but if I missed one of your comments along the way, please feel free to put that in the chat. Would really love to give the team feedback on what your favorite thing you heard was, or what you're most excited about. And then also feel free to fuss and say like, oh, I was really hoping to see this. Where is that on the roadmap? Because it might be there. I just maybe didn't list it. So if you don't mind throwing something in the chat, I kid you not, it does the team's heart well to see what everyone's excited about, and what else you're aiming to get.
We are actively right now trying to use a combination of these tools to prove and show the organization the value of what this new team, what we call strategic engagement, who is using the Lifecycle tool to prove to the organization that we are influencing revenue and through the use of this tool. And so the create opportunity aspect is huge for us to be able to create opportunities right from LCI so that we can track that. And ConnectWise is going to be, it's a fast track to what we're trying to create on our own right now. So I'm maybe going to ask that team to pause if you're going to deliver it.
Oh, nice. Okay. I will share that for sure. I'm also grabbing a URL. I sent this out yesterday. I will put it in the Monday email again, but we do have, and Angela, your question reminded me, so thank you for that. We often have folks ask, like, I really need a deeper dive into, a piece or part of the class platform. So we're offering, it's a $50 2-day, 2-hour each day assessment crash course. That is quite literally 15 minutes of content, 15 minutes of go do the work, 15 minutes of content, 15 minutes of go do the work. So if you're serious about, I want to do this and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to get the job done, take a look at that link. There is some pre-work of what you need to bring to the party. And if you think you're not quite ready for it yet, but will want it again, feel free to send me an email and say, like, I'm not ready today, but I'm interested in that. Thank you, Ross. We agree. We think we've got a great team. Yeah, John, I think that's for customer success. I didn't even mention that, but that is exactly what we're aiming for, is reports that you could deliver that look like what's in the platform, right? We haven't pushed out the printables from that side of the house, but that for sure is what we want to do. ESP stack alignment by customer. Taking more notes. Oh, especially stack alignment by customer. I'm with you now. The capital ESP threw me. I thought, like, darn, I know a lot of acronyms. But, so you have me going, but I got it. All right. Any other no worries. That was my bad, really. Any other comments, complaints, compliments, criticisms? Thank you. We appreciate it.
I want to personally thank you, because we've been struggling with VCIO and client success is what we call it. And we onboarded with C-level ops about a year ago, redid all our service delivery stuff. And we're jumping into and even the guidance they give us, right? It's like, okay, I know all this stuff needs to be done, but this is it's a ton of busy work. I mean, I don't have the resources available to do all of that in their eyes that we should be doing manually. And it wasn't until I was like, oh, Lifecycle Insights is like, oh my God. And even though C-level always tells me never build your process around a tool, your tool was like, I'm building my process around this tool, right? And
you're not the only one on this call to have told me that, for the record.
Yeah.
So I think some other people hear you.
So definitely, you've helped mature our company and solve a lot of headaches for us. So I thank you for that.
Oh,
Yeah, kind of related to what Brian is saying, we were a longtime user of a competitive tool before we jumped on board with you guys almost 2 years ago. And, that's been the biggest impact is, prep work and getting ready for business reviews, used to be 10, 12 hours worth of busy work, obnoxious process, and you guys take it down to, 90 minutes. It's freed up so much time for us to focus more on relationships. It's allowed us to be more dense in the amount of MRR that our account managers are dealing with. So, you guys do a great job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Wes, I think I used the same software as you before, and it's much nicer not giving someone a 300-page report of nothing than and just having this that does it all for you. Kind of an obvious if you think about it type thing.
Well, honestly, we get it from feedback, in like we build the roadmap with you, not to you, and is how we feel along the way. So we appreciate it. Because you mentioned it, I'm in the middle of the Customer Success Professionals Handbook. It is typically designed for SaaS providers, specifically for software companies. But I think so much of what managed services is, because it is as a service, aligns to it. And I think Mark would agree with me. Is it chapter 6, Mark, that we decided every MSP should read, because it really is about, let me see, that was operational.
Chapter 6.
Operation.
Marty, the whole book.
Yeah, but there was one chapter specifically fairly on that Mark and I thought this is exactly what all of our managed service providers talk to us about. And it's really the whole consulting notion. Anyway, you do, Alex, but that's a good one. So anyway, I'll throw out a book comment for yep. It is the Customer Success Professionals Handbook. I won't even try to get the last name correct, so I will just leave it on the screen. And Mark, remind me, and I'll try to put a link in Monday's email to where I got it on Amazon. Mark and I read a customer success book every now and again to just refresh our thinking. So it's a good one. Perfect. Already on it. Thank you. Ross has it in the chat. Perfect. Good. All right. Can't wait to hear what you come up with. Awesome. Well, I super appreciate everybody joining us on Fridays. And if you have more feedback for me, you'll get an email from me Monday, and you can reply back, and I'll take my page of notes and share it with the devs. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.